What's up, everybody? I'm Blessed and Free. Welcome back to another episode of DOC TV. So I have David on the show again. If you guys haven't seen part 1 to his interview, I'm going to link it in the description. It's definitely a case you want to listen to. This is what people go through in the system. The corruption, the lies. They can just make up shit on you, and pretty much anything they say flies. And so if you haven't checked that out, make sure to check it out. But we're going to go ahead and pick up where we left off in the first interview. So why don't you I know you were just getting into county, kind of figuring all that out. So if you just want to pick up from there, man, we're cool.
Yeah, I mean, as everybody that's either watched part 1, and if you haven't, make sure you go do. But I was in county jail for second-degree murder, and once I got there, again, I went to this PBL block, and that's exactly where I sat for 3.5 years. It was a grueling time. And while I was in there, man, I got to see the true side of people that I loved, people that were just in my life a little bit, you know what I mean? I get to see people's true colors in a time like that. So I was in there, and my co-defendant was in there. We were communicating back and forth, and you know, basically, like I said before, we just decided that we were going to fight this, and our attorneys were going to work together at that point and go forward. And obviously, that's not what happened. But anyways, I was sitting there for, I would say, like, I don't know, 2 years, 9 months, going to court back and forth. And finally I went to court one day, and my lawyer came back. My co-defendant had already bonded out 6 months into the jail sentence. So 2 years, 8 months, 2 years, 9 months later, I'm at court, and my lawyer walks back there. I'll never forget, his hands were in his pocket, and he's like, he looked at me and he's like, "Your boy flipped on you."
Damn.
And it was unbelievable at that very moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't understand. I was confused. I remember just leaning up against the wall, and him telling me, "Listen, I don't know any, you know, I haven't seen any statement. I haven't seen anything. The state attorney just informed me that there was a proffer made, and if you don't know what a proffer is when you have a co-defendant in a case and they turn state on you. That's what it's called. It's called a proffer. They become a state witness. They make a statement, and that statement is used as factual evidence because they were an eyewitness. So
basically anything they say, the cops are like, "Oh, it's got to be the truth."
Well, yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah. I mean, obviously, he had been able to see the discovery and the fabricated stories that were already placed against us.
Right.
So almost 3 years later, he proffers. He has a story to corroborate with the lies.
What they want to hear.
They want to hear.
Yeah,
Exactly.
crazy,
So
man.
he proffers. Like I said, my lawyer hadn't seen the paperwork as of yet. So he told me, "Just go back. I'm gonna get the paperwork. I'll be there in a couple of days. We'll go over it." So that's what he did. He came that next Wednesday.
Did you have any thought in your head when you guys were in county, even before he bonded out and then bonded out, that this could be a possibility?
I mean, like I said, man, in the last episode, man, I misjudged this dude's character, man. It kills me every day knowing that I just fell for, you know.
Well, that's because you're a loyal ass dude, and you probably thought because you were surrounded by him that, you know, he was going to be that way too. So.
At that point, yeah, I had no kind of thought that this outcome was how it was going to happen. So
Damn.
I mean, at that point, it is what it is. I'm in the county now. The next step is, what do I do now? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my lawyer comes out there. He brings this paperwork. I'm reading this proffer that this guy made, man, and he's just completely lying in this report. I mean, he's telling me and him are just work acquaintances. I've known this dude for 24 years, you know what I mean? But he's telling the police we were just work acquaintances. You know, he's telling them just, you know, we weren't close and whatnot. You know what I mean? Just completely lying. And it was the most devastating thing at that point when I read that.
I bet.
You know what I'm saying? My best friend, somebody who I trusted, somebody who I just knew would never do anything like this. And here it was happening. And it was reality. And so even after reading the proffer, man, there were so many holes to be poked in this, because it was all, see, one thing about it is when you lie, there's holes everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had multiple people lying for the state. Nothing was matching up. There was holes everywhere. It's unheard of. You understand that? It's unheard of when you're charged with second-degree murder. You got a state's witness that already made a statement. Now you got a co-defendant that flips on you and proffers on you. And I still only got a 5-year fucking offer. So that tells you that the state had a shit case.
Yeah.
You understand that? But I just couldn't roll the dice knowing that I could be back home with my kids and start my family and my life over, and roll the dice and take it to trial. Even though I wanted to, man. Believe me, man, it not an ounce. I'm not a fucking quitter, man. Not an ounce of me wanted to fucking give that shit up, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I had to do what I had to do at that point, because the state wasn't going to back down. They weren't going to say, you know what, we're knee deep in shit right here, and let me backtrack you a little bit. You know, they're not going to do that. They're just going to go with their hand, and if they lose, they lose. But they know they got the upper hand. I mean, the judicial system is favored on their side.
That's what pisses me off, honestly, about all of it.
It's not even at all.
It's crazy. They just do whatever they want, man. Like, why wouldn't they just know that they had nothing and just be like, bro, listen, we don't have enough, man. Like,
well, like I said,
crazy.
man, the detective in this case, Bridget Hayden, was a horrible detective. She didn't do any groundwork. She didn't even try to figure out anything.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? I got her narrative supplement report, man. It's 4 lines long. I mean, this is a homicide case. It should be 5 fucking pages.
4 lines?
4 lines. So, and I got that paperwork. You'll see it.
That's great. Yeah, well, anything he's saying, we're going to post up on the screen, because
Correct.
this shit's official. It's legit. And we both know there's a lot of people in jail and prison that say, oh, I didn't do it, I'm innocent. But when you got papers to show, and I mean, you can just tell by the way he talks about it.
Let me explain something to y'all. I did 5 years. I wouldn't come out lying
Right.
and trying to say, I would tell you it was an accident. Man, I accidentally killed this guy. It was an accident. I felt bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm moving on with my life. I wouldn't come out here and be fucking sitting down and making videos and trying to prove, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The crookedness in the system, and just how it went down. How it went down wasn't right. And I'll never accept it, even though I had to do what I had to do, man. It's just, I'll never accept it as a man. You know what I'm
this
saying?
is your chance to set the record straight, man.
It is what it is. But like I said, man, this man, my co-defendant, David Allman, his cousin made a statement in the beginning of the case, and his cousin wasn't actually there, but he lives in Daytona, and we were, frequently at his house. And so after the incident, you know what I mean, we were over there, you know what I'm saying, the next day. So his cousin was, told what happened between both of us or whatnot, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So after all this went down, my lawyer sent an investigator out to get a statement from his cousin. And again, I got it in black and white, where his own cousin, who I just met, says David Kebner had nothing to do with this. It was a fight between my cousin and this man. But at the time, before my co-defendant flipped on me, it was hearsay evidence. Okay, but once my co-defendant flipped on me, then we scrambling at the end trying to find this dude, and he's nowhere to be found. And the judge gives us a deadline and says, okay, you're going to trial at this date, and there's no more continuances. And here we are scrambling trying to find this dude's cousin, and this dude's cousin's ducked off. You know what I'm saying? Because he doesn't want to be, he doesn't want to have to own up to the statement he made 2.5 years ago when this really happened. Yeah. And I'm going to show it all in black and white.
Or do you think he ducked off because maybe he knew if he got brought down there that your lawyer would lay into him, and then he would have to say who really killed, and that's his cousin?
I mean, exactly. I mean, he was going to have to, answer to the statement that he already made.
Right, under oath.
Right, and he's going to have to say, okay, you made the statement with a private investigator for this law firm at this date, at this time. It's all documented, and they're going to start asking him and depose him, and that's what should have happened. And my case should have been put off until that man was able to be found and deposed, and that would have been fair.
Yeah.
At that point, once he flipped, I'm scrambling. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know what to do at that point. And I'm still telling my lawyer's coming to me, and he's like, listen, if I can get you a deal, what's a good deal? Blah blah blah.
You didn't want to hear none of that.
I didn't want to hear it at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And as the time gets closer, they're coming out and see me. Hey man, the private investigator's coming to see me. He can't find this dude. He's looking all over. He's going to addresses that he lived at, this and that. He can't find them. Time's winding down. It's crunch time. Now my lawyer, and the judge gives me a deadline. The lawyer comes to me. He's like, hey man, we either go to trial or I can go talk to the state. What's the least you'll take? His exact words.
Crazy.
And so I said, I'll take 5 and under. He comes back with a 10-year splint sentence, 5 and 5. 5 out, 5 on probation. And if I signed it, then I'd go to prison for 18 months and be home and start my life over. If not, I roll the dice, maybe go home in a couple weeks, or maybe get 30 fucking years.
Yeah,
I mean, it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? So that's where I stood, and that's the situation that I was in at that moment. And
so when you first found that out, like when you found out he flipped, then you're talking to your lawyer about getting a deal. Like, did you reach out to anybody and talk, or were you just sitting in that pod going through all this by yourself?
Before he even flipped, like 2-3 months before I even found out he flipped, man, I sent a postcard out, and and you're not supposed to do this when you're in the county, but you're sitting there for 3 years of life on the line and shit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I sent a fucking, an envelope out to his address with a different name on it, and I sent it out in somebody else's name in the pod. I had somebody else's name as the address it was going to, but with his address.
Right.
And I knew he would know, you know what I'm saying? So I sent that out, and I told him, I said, hey man, what's going on? I haven't heard from you. I hope life's treating you well. What's going on here? Is everything still...
Yeah, what time is it?
Yeah, are we still going to trial together? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? I said, if anything... if everything's straight, man, send me $20 through Jolly Green's name, which is a dude we grew up with. And I just used that name, so didn't draw any red flags, you know what I'm saying? Right. So I told him that. The money never hit my account. So at that point, I started getting a little concerned because he's not talking to my family. He's not talking to anybody.
Yeah, you went ghost.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, the lawyers tell nobody's supposed to talk to nobody. There's an order where you can't communicate and this and all this shit and that. And so I'm just holding on to my head. I'm like, oh, that's got to be what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's not trying to slip up or whatnot like that. So that's what I was telling myself.
Still giving the dude the benefit of the doubt, man. That's crazy.
Dude, like I said, bro, this dude was the closest, person that I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Ever. And like I said, I misjudged that character, man. I misjudged that big time. Because there's no way in hell I never thought this dude would do that. Never.
So then when the lawyer came back to you with the 5 out, 5 in, 5 out, is that when you took that deal?
Well, when he asked me what I would take, he's like, listen, man, I might be able to get it around 7.
Total?
No, he's like, I might be able to get it around 7 with some paper.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, fuck, man. I was like, at that point, I'm still weighing my options. I'm in my head, I'm telling myself, now granted, if that's all he could have got, then I probably would have took that too. I don't know. But in my head, I'm like, nah, if it ain't 5 and under, you know what I'm saying? Then
right, because in your head, you have credit for time in already.
Yeah,
you're playing
exactly. I got 3.5 years in the county, so I'm like, all that's calculating in my head. You know what I'm saying? But still, I was telling myself, man, I ain't taking no more than 5.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he was telling me I might be able to get 7, but I'll see what I can do. And then he comes back with the split 5 and 5, and I was just like, and he's like, he told me, he said, listen, Dave, I've been doing this for 21 years. He said this is the strongest homicide case I've had in 15.
Really?
Is what he's telling me. He said it's your decision. I'm not telling you to sign this deal. We can still go to trial.
But he basically
I'm telling you, we got a hell of a case. He's telling me straight up.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant that he was saying like they got all this shit on.
No, he's telling me that this is the best homicide case he's had in years. Right. So now I'm like, wow, man. And then I got my dad on my phone. I call my daughter. They're all telling me to take the deal. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to make the decision for me, he's telling me that if I don't take the deal, he's writing me off, and he ain't gonna do nothing else for me.
That's your dad saying that?
Yeah, he's telling me that while I'm in jail, and he's trying to basically force me to take the deal. You know what I'm saying? But it's easy to say when you're out here in this free world, man. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, take the deal, man. Yeah. When you ain't do something, you know what I'm saying? That's a hard pill to swallow, man. That's a hard pill to swallow.
Man. I used to hate hearing that shit when I was in there.
You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, man. I accepted the deal. When I accepted that deal, man, I went back to that pod, man. I'm gonna tell you what it felt like. 1,000,000 pounds was lifted off my shoulder. I knew I had a date. I had already calculated everything up. I knew what date it was. I knew there was light. I could see the light.
You knew I'm getting out.
I knew it was, 6 months before that day, I didn't know if I was ever going to see the light of day again, or at least not for a long ass time. So when I did sign that deal and I came back, as a matter of fact, when I went to court, it was the craziest thing. I went to court thinking I'm just going to sign the deal. When I walk in there, my lawyer didn't even tell me. When I walk in there, they got this dude's whole family in there. So with victim advocates, and there's nobody else in the courtroom but the victim's family. They flew them in from Nebraska, New York, all over.
That's another tactical thing they do, man.
Yeah. So they bring these people there, and I walk in, and all I see is them. And you know how hard it was sitting there signing that deal, knowing that this family thinks I'm the one that killed this dude. And to this day, they still think that. To this day. So that was another hard thing, but I was sweating in there. The judge was wondering why, asking the state attorney, why is the offer so low? So then my lawyer tells me she's considering not accepting the deal. I said, well, what do you mean?
She wanted more?
Yeah, the judge was like, hold on, this is not, this don't seem right. The state agreed to the 5 years, 5 out. The family agreed to the 5 in, 5 out. The judge is looking over the paperwork, and she's asking questions at the sentencing. You understand that? So she sends the state up to get my score sheet because the state didn't have it. So the state leaves. The judge goes back in her chamber. My lawyer pulls up on me, says, hey, the judge is considering not accepting the deal. And I'm gonna tell you, that was another gut punch. You know what I'm saying? Because at that point, I'm like, oh shit, can she do that?
What think she's not accepting it for? Because it's too low?
Too low time.
Yeah. That's a gut punch.
That was a gut punch. Yeah, that was a gut punch. So now I'm in there shaking. I'm starting to shake. You know what I'm saying? I'm trembling, and I just know if she doesn't. I tell my lawyer, I said, so what do we do if she doesn't accept the deal? He's like, well, get ready for trial. Man, that's scary, man. That's some scary shit. So she came back. The state showed her the score sheet, and my lawyer, explained some of the information in the case. The state, displayed some of the information in the case and where the holes were, and tried to explain to the judge that this was, shoddy at best. And the judge at the end of the hearing, she went ahead and accepted the deal. And man, when I went back, man, it just felt like I just won my life.
Unreal kind of.
Yeah, I just felt like to tell you that I went back in a cell and felt just completely relieved, and it was just a big. I could take a deep breath.
I've been there, man. I know exactly.
I just hung my head, and I just knew it was over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was crazy, man. That was the craziest shit I ever went through in my life.
So then the next thing is obviously you go to prison. But before we get into all that,
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say to maybe the youth that are not even living that life, but like for them, what happens if, you know, they start becoming and getting criminal records and stuff like that? What they have to look forward to?
Yeah. I mean, kids out there, man, you know, I started hanging around the wrong people at a young age and getting into frivolous stuff, and it never ends up, man. Never ends up good. And I promise you, man, that if you don't have to be doing anything wrong. If you surround yourself with shit eaters, you're gonna eat shit. I promise you.
Yeah, it's real.
I promise you. And you know, try to, I wouldn't say judge everybody, but try to sit back when you meet people and really look into that person and see, you know, because man, people are snakes. At the end of the day, a snake can shed its skin, but it's still a snake. So just be cautious about who you're around. And you know, nothing good happens after 11 p.m. So
That's crazy. My parents used to tell me that.
I mean, it's so true, man. It's so true.
Yeah.
You don't think about it as a kid coming up. You want to be out there hanging out, partying with your friends, man. But you know, I got a tattoo quoted on my arm. It says, "A man's life can pivot on the smallest hinge of time. No minute is without the potential for momentous change. And each tick of the clock might be the voice of fate whispering a promise or a warning." Make sure you follow your inner self, man.
And I also want you to be able to, you know, I know your boy turned on you, man. I know what that's got to feel like. So
I mean,
if he's
yeah,
watching this, what would you want to say to him?
I mean, obviously, you know what you did, man. You're a scumbag.
Yeah.
You're a piece of shit human for what you did. You took me away from my kids. You created turmoil in my life that is, you know, that I can't change and can't fix. You took a lot of the last years of me away from my mama, and you gonna pay through it throughout your life, man. That's why you lost your mama and your daddy throughout this whole process, because you were making some shitty decisions. And I'm disappointed in you as a friend, and I'm disappointed in you as a man. You should be ashamed of yourself. And one day it's gonna come full circle, son.
Yeah, fuck you. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna have him on for another episode to talk about what he went through when he got to prison, because it doesn't just stop when you get sentenced. That's when a whole nother politic and a bunch of crazy shit starts happening. So I just wanted to thank you for coming on the show, man.
Absolutely.
I hope the dude heard that shit, because that was some real shit that you just said. And with that, it's DOC TV, and we're out.